If you've ever recorded speech and afterwards had to transcribe it, you know that not only is annotating the opposite of exciting, it's also very time-consuming. But don't worry, you won't have to do that anymore. These two things here are what we're going to get out at the end of this video. An audio file with speech in it, and a text grid with a transcription linking the text to the speech. We can achieve this with a super helpful tool for Praat, PresenterPro. This is a plugin which lets us prompt, record, and annotate speech all in a few simple steps. We will go step by step, and I promise that no matter whether you're new to this or already a pro, there will be something helpful for you in this video. Many speech researchers carry out recordings in which participants are asked to read aloud utterances. So what's the problem? If you record these utterances in one recording session, identifying which utterance you want at what point in time will result in considerable and time-consuming post-editing, because speakers often repeat utterances after they make a mistake. Typically, for a 30-minute recording, you may spend twice the amount of time afterwards, editing your recordings to identify the specific utterances you want. Here, prompting software can help. The software prompts a text on the screen that a speaker is asked to read. This could be a word or a sentence, for example. It automatically records the utterance and saves it for later processing. So, this saves you long and heavy post-processing. Nowadays, many sophisticated tools can do this, such as Speech Recorder from LMU or ProRec. So why use PresenterPro? Well, first, PresenterPro is based on Praat, which is platform independent, meaning you can use it on all operating systems. Next, with PresenterPro, you have a free choice of recording device. You can even use several different recording devices at the same time, and all your recordings will automatically be edited. Third, PresenterPro will not cut or save only parts of the recording. It will always leave you with a full backup of the entire recording session. And last, the plugin is easy to edit and adapt as it was written in Praat's own scripting language, thus requiring no high-end coding knowledge. PresenterPro is a tool created with and for Praat. To use it, you will need to have Praat already installed on your computer. If you're new to Praat, we recommend you either check out some videos from the Uni Freiburg or read about the program in a guide from Will Styler. You will find the link to both resources in the description below. To install PresenterPro, first you will have to download the code. Go to our webpage, maneuver to the repositories and look for PresenterPro. Then, click the code widget and select Download Zip. Next, open your Downloads folder and extract the contents of the zipped file. Now, locate your Praat Preferences folder and move the PresenterPro folder into your Praat Preferences. Once you did that, open the Content folder, right-click on the setup file, and open it with Praat. This will open Praat and a script. Run the script by either clicking on the Run button or pressing Command+R. This will add a menu command to your Praat Objects window with which you can open PresenterPro comfortably. It's important not to move the PresenterPro folder anymore, but to keep it in the Praat Preferences. Click on the menu command to open PresenterPro. Congratulations! You have successfully installed PresenterPro and made it to the main menu. To run PresenterPro, we first need a list of utterances. When you press on Choose List, a pause menu will appear in which you can select a list of utterances you want to use for the experiment. There are some demo lists you can use to give it a try, but at some point you will want to create your own list of utterances. To create a new list, maneuver back to the Content folder, duplicate an already existing list, delete its content and type in your desired utterances. When you're done, don't forget to rename your list. Now if we press on Choose List again, our new list should appear right away. Next up, we can name our speaker. This entry will name the text grid we are about to create when starting the application. You can record the utterance either with your own recording device or use Praat's inbuilt sound recorder. For the latter, press on Record, Mono or Stereo. This will open the sound recorder window. Recording in stereo may come in handy if you want to additionally record a second signal, for example with a laryngograph. Make sure that you have selected the correct input source and sampling frequency. Press on Record to start recording. You must leave this window open and running during the experiment. Below the recording buttons, you will find a Start From button. It controls which utterance to first prompt on the screen. Keeping this at 1 means the first line in your list will be shown first. Before you press on Start, make sure that your loudspeakers are not muted. When you press on Start, PresenterPro will play a calibration tone. It is important that the sound is well audible in your recording, as it is a marker to later synchronize the recording to the text grid. Okay, you pressed Start. You should now see a red screen with the first line of your utterance list. The red screen is the preparation phase. The participant has time to read the utterance before speaking it. Once you press into the red screen, it will turn green. This is the speaking phase. The participant should now read aloud the prompted utterance. Note the arrows and buttons at the bottom of the screen. If, for example, you pressed into the screen although you weren't ready yet, you can press the left arrow. This will bring you back to the red screen from before. If you want to repeat the utterance, press on the repeat button. This will also bring you back to the red screen. If you're happy with your production, press the right arrow, which will lead you to the next utterance. Do you want to exit the experiment preemptively? Press the exit button. This will conclude the experiment and bring you back to the main menu. If you press the right arrow on the last utterance of your list, the experiment will also conclude. Maneuver back to the sound recorder window and stop the recording by pressing Stop. Then either press on Save to List or Save to List and close. In your Objects window, you should now have two objects. Your textured file, which is the name you gave it at the beginning, and your sound file, which is still called Untitled. Select the sound object and press View and Edit. This will open the sound editor window where you can modify and analyze your recording. Remember the calibration tone from before? If everything worked correctly, you should be able to identify it somewhere at the beginning of your sound. Where exactly depends on how much time it took from starting the recording to starting the experiment. You have two visual helpers to find a tone, the waveform and the spectrogram. The waveform will most likely resemble a block. By clicking into the waveform and dragging it along the x-axis, you can select a portion of the sound. The calibration tone will be half a second long. We can double check whether we found it by checking its duration. In the spectrogram, it will be indicated by a black line centered around 500 Hz. Once you have identified the tone, select the beginning of the sound file up to and including the tone. Press on Cell on the bottom of the editor window. This will zoom in on the selected part. Now, click on the end of the tone and drag your mouse all the way to the start of the sound. Maneuver to the editor drop-down and select Cut or press Command+X. This will cut the selected portion of your sound. Close the editor window. Press down the Command key and select both the text grid and the sound object. Press on View and Edit. This will open the editor once more, but now the text grid will be shown beneath the sound. If everything worked correctly, the speech will be aligned to the labeled intervals. You can check this by selecting an interval and playing the sound file by pressing on the Tab button. Save your sound, as this is not done automatically. Select the sound and press Save from the drop-down menu. Select Save as WAV file and save the file where you need it. Do the same for your text grid object. You have now learned how to use PresenterPro. However, the plugin comes with some important additional features that you may want to benefit from. Back in the main menu below the Start button, you will find other buttons. I will go from left to right and explain each of them. First, there is the Help button. When pressed, this button will open a manual where you can read about the functions of PresenterPro, what other functions there are, how to get in contact if you notice a bug, how to deinstall the tool, and its version history. The Settings button will open a menu with some settings for the display of your list, such as options to display your text differently, or change the font style and size. If you prepared a list somewhere else on your computer, you could add it with the Add List button. This will make a copy of your list in the PresenterPro folder. But be careful. If you add a list with the same name as a list within the folder, you will overwrite the already existing file. The button Remove List will permanently delete the selected list in the list folder. Be careful not to delete a list you still need, as there is no way of getting it back once it has been deleted. For the Extract Intervals button, you need to have a sound and its corresponding text grid already selected. This function will create 3 files for each interval in your text grid. A text file with the utterance, a WAV file with the sound from the beginning to the end of the interval, and a corresponding text grid file, also including the utterance. From the menu, you can choose your sound format. If your sound is longer than a few minutes, choose Long Sound, else choose Sound. Then you must specify the right directory. I recommend creating an empty folder first and writing your files into the folder. Otherwise, you may end up with a mess of files somewhere on your computer. Once you have inserted your path, press Continue. Then open your folder to check whether it worked. If it did, you will have 3 files per interval. The last button, Text Grids, gives you direct access to your Text Grids folder within the PresenterPro folder. It lets you choose a text grid, which will then be loaded into the Objects window. So, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. We are happy to get feedback on what you liked and what you think we could improve. If you want to know more, make sure to check out our website, where you can find the latest updates on our resources. If you're planning on using the tool for your research, make sure to cite it. The creator of PresenterPro has published a short paper on it. You can find the link together with more information on how to find our resources and how to get in touch with us in the description below. This was Clemens from the LiRI Resource Hub. Have a great day.
LiRI.